Hi, we're back today talking about the 5 things that you must avoid when you are choosing an egg donor, which is going to be an amazing video and one of the more important videos that I think you all need to hear, because it's going to allow you to get to that step of choosing an egg donor faster and avoid making those critical mistakes that we find couples often make. So today I am joined by Dion again. Welcome back, Dion. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Dr. Sklar. Excited to be here today.
Yeah, before we jump into this topic, I want to remind you all to make sure you like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel to make sure you find out when we put out another video for all of you. All right, so the first thing that I want to cover is limiting your criteria, your search criteria when someone is choosing an egg donor. I think often we think we need to make it narrow to find the best donor, but what we have learned, or what you have learned, is that that might not be the case, right?
Yes, absolutely. That is a big mistake that people often make, because even with as large of an egg database as YourEggs has, with over 1,800 donors and new ones coming in every week.
Awesome.
Still, if you put in too much limiting criteria, you may come back with just 5 or 6 donors, and you may have missed the one that
You really need it?
Yeah, that is actually the perfect match. So if you leave that a little bit wider, then you have the opportunity to see more donors, because even if you're coming back with 20 or 25, you're still going to be able, because sometimes there's something that you didn't think of that you are looking for, and you find that in one of the donors that may have been screened out if your criteria was too strict.
So if I understand you correctly, actually, it makes more sense on your first initial search or searches, right? Those first few times you're looking, to actually start a little broader in your search, right, and then slowly narrow it down when you've started to narrow it down by picking some of those donors, right?
Yes, pick your most important characteristics that are non-negotiable for you, and then keep some of your more minor preferences to narrow down as you continue in the process.
Awesome. You know, and that brings me, I was going to leave this point for number 3, but I think I'm going to bump it up now to number 2 because of what you just said, you know, to pick your most important ones. And that brings me to a thought that I had for number 3, excuse me, which is having open communication so that you don't have any problems in the future, right? Like either whether it's open communication with the agency that you're using, or, and more importantly really, is that communication that you have with your partner so you can choose the right donor. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to be shy or afraid to get all your opinions out when you're looking for your donor, both with your partner as well as with your agent, your expert who's helping you along the process. You really want to have honest, open communication, you know, over communicate, maybe you might feel that way, to make sure that you're getting everything across. And that may help the agent find the perfect donor for you when she listens to something that you're saying that can help her match you.
Oh,
better.
that's wonderful. Because I was thinking about it from the couple perspective, right? You know, often you have these two individuals and one has one idea and the other has another idea of what they're looking for. And if they don't communicate it with one another, then they don't know what each other's non-negotiables, as you mentioned, are when they're making that initial selection and screening.
Yes. So keeping that very open communication and making sure that both their partner as well as their agent understands what's most important to them.
Awesome. So my suggestion for everyone would be that the two partners sit down, they come up with their non-negotiables, their lists, and then they share those with the agency together. Yes. Hopefully, yes. Right? And then they could start that search process. Both, you know, the agent, the agency, the coordinator that they're working with can help, and then they can also start to look through that list on their own.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So the tip that you must not avoid, number 3, which was my number 2 originally, is using an agency that doesn't have as much of a variety of donors. I just spoke to somebody who's looking for a donor, and the list that she was given was less than 20 donors that this agency had available for her. And it shocked me because I was like, how are you supposed to even find someone that you want? And her search criteria were pretty, you know, detailed in what she was looking for and narrow. And I just couldn't imagine that she was going to be able to find what she needed in this agency that had, I think she said it was like 18 donors on their list, which is really, really small, especially when we compare it to 1,800 that YourEggs has. So can you talk a little bit about that, about using an agency that is well established and has a broad search?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that is pretty shocking. More commonly, people are coming to us when they were working with after trying to work with an agency that had maybe about 200. That's more average. On average, it's maybe 200 to 300 donors, and even that is just very challenging. Even your non-negotiables, it can even be hard to find someone with your non-negotiables if you're talking about 200 or less donors.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so we've definitely have many people who have tried with smaller agencies and then come to us and been very excited by all the many options that they have with YourEggs being as big of an agency as we are and having the diversity within our donors, many different wonderful people from different backgrounds with different interests and education levels.
Nice. So, for all of you listening and watching right now, I'm curious, have any of you worked with a donor agency, and can you share the size of the donor pool that you were choosing from? Because 1,800 is a lot to choose from. And I just gave them another extreme example of,
Yes,
20,
the other
right?
side.
Which is really small. So I'm curious to hear from all of you, what sort of size pool were you looking for? And would it make a big difference for all of you if you had an agency that had 1,800 donors to pick from to find the unique donor that would work for you? So comment below and let us know. As we move into tip number 4 of things that they must avoid, this one, I think, also is important as it relates to having a bigger pool to choose from, because this is about not getting fixated on one donor, right? That could be a problem in and of itself.
Yes, absolutely. And we have unfortunately seen that in the past where, someone becomes, fixated, as you said, on this one donor. And occasionally, this donor, there may be something going on in their life where they're unable to make the commitment, or for some reason in the cycle, they become disqualified for whatever reason. And that can be very difficult then to move forward if they became too fixated on this one.
So do you, when a couple reaches out to YourEggs and they pick somebody and said, this is the one we need to have, is there some guidance to support them to say, well, how about we pick 1 or 2 backup options when we're looking at donors?
Yeah, in general, it does work. Once they choose one, everything can move forward. But often people do have a list of about 2 to 3 people that they're starting with, and then they have their favorite and move forward with their favorite. And we do at YourEggs have a great program for rematching for a full fresh cycle. We do use just the one fee, and then if anything happens throughout the process, we have a program where we rematch them without any additional agency fees if for some reason that donor became disqualified.
Because some agencies have a rematching fee.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Okay. Okay. So this would allow them to avoid that if they need to be rematched.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then they
Great.
can go to their second or third choice, who ends up being the one they were meant to have.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. It just took them a different path to get there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So tip number 5 of things you have to avoid when you're choosing an egg donor is not getting proper support. And I think this happens in multiple levels, right? Choosing or making the choice to use an egg donor is a big decision. And all of us need different support to make that decision and to move through that decision. So, getting proper support, what options does YourEgg have, or what options does YourEgg recommend when someone is going through this process so they get the proper support, I think, mentally and emotionally through the process?
Absolutely, Dr. Sklar. That is a big issue. As you said, it is a difficult journey, and many of the intended parents already had a difficult journey before they're coming to YourEggs. And we are very fortunate that we have very close relationships with the intended parents, and I know that they often feel that their coordinator becomes a very close friend and support throughout the process. And we do also have additional counseling and try to connect them to support groups, both either online or in person, to help them and also encourage as we talked about earlier, open communication
Right.
with their partners too, to be supporting each other and give them tools to support each other throughout the process as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I also think that it's really important that as couples that we don't lean always on our partner for support.
Right.
Because they already have their own burdens that they're dealing with and
True.
challenges that they're dealing with. So I think aside from, not that you guys shouldn't be talking to one another, you should. But aside from that, I think it's really important that we have somebody else, whether it's a close friend or close family member or actually a therapist that we're talking to. We need also a little bit of additional support outside of our partner so that we don't bring that additional stress and burden on them. So I would just add that in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because many people going through egg donation want to keep it private.
Yeah.
And sometimes wanting to keep it so private can lead to not seeking outside support. So,
Right.
In that cases, we definitely have psychologists available and experts who will maintain that confidentiality, as well as everyone at YourEggs team has experience with this as well to help support them throughout the process.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. So we want to hear from you. Comment below and let us know what questions you have as it relates to being a donor, using a donor, or being an intended parent. I know there's a lot of questions that could come up and a lot of confusion. We want to be able to be a resource and be able to answer those questions for all of you. If you want to start the process of choosing a donor, or if you want to start the process of being a donor, then I invite you to download the app, YourEggs app, through Apple and Android on your phone, and you can start the process through there, or you can just head on over to our website at YourEggs.com. And some of the programs that Dion just mentioned, we're going to leave those links in the description below as well. And we'll see you all in the next video.